Hello, everybody, and happy weekend. Welcome back to the Wine Steward. My name is Jim, and this is my very good friend Pinot Noir. We'll be talking about it a little bit later. But in the meantime, it's going to sit here, air out, and come to room temperature. And that, in fact, is going to be the topic of the day once we finally get to it, temperature for wine. But let's talk about a few details, the various things going on at the Wine Steward as time goes by and the current times evolve with things opening up and restrictions continuing, and just because downtown Pleasanton is evolving back very slowly and gradually, but thankfully to a situation where restaurants are going to be opening on a limited basis. And essentially for us, the Wine Steward, parking is going to get crummy again. So many of you already know that it was in past times getting harder and harder to obtain a parking spot in front of the store. And in the meantime, many of you have been trained, so to speak, been kind of forced to do pickup only. And not just restaurants, but here at the Wine Steward, you've been picking up orders. So what we would like to offer to you as a solution to trying to find a parking place in the back is to remind you that we have a back door. A parking place in the front is to remind you that we have a parking lot in the back door, which nowadays is often impacted as well. But if all you're doing is picking up an order, why not double park back there? Give us a call ahead of time. We run out, bring you your order, and it's just as easy as if we were doing it in the front. So there's that option. Want you to know about it. In other Wine Steward news, we want to point out the fact that for all of this time during pandemic times, we have been offering everybody, not just our wine club members who usually get the discount, but absolutely everybody, 10% off discounts on their online orders. In fact, absolutely every item there, whether it's great cheese or charcuterie or wonderful wine, and there's a lot on there, all of those prices have shown regular price and the discount 10% off price that everybody has gotten throughout this period. Well, we just want to announce that this is the final weekend for everybody to enjoy that pricing. The store basically can't last forever with that tight a margin. We wanted to do something grateful and beneficial to all of you. After all, you've been also helpful with recommending the right kind of conditioner for my new hair, so we want to thank you back and have done that for quite a long period of time. And now to sustain the business, we have to go back to regular pricing except for our hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wine club members. So you will continue to be able to get a discount, you club members, online by our giving you a code to use. It will automatically happen once you put in that name and or number. And for the rest of you, we would love for you to consider joining up. There is information on the website about our 6 different monthly clubs. Just another plug for those clubs. We recognize that there's tons of wine clubs out there, and most of them are operated by wineries. And when you do sign up for a winery's wine club, you might be actually signing up for a little bit more security. You're getting a house style, a predictable predictability, let's just say that. You like the way these guys make their wine, and every quarter you're getting the comfort of more and more of that style of wine. And a lot of you need that and enjoy that, and that's it's more of a sure thing, you might say. What we're offering you is something some might call a little more scary, and others might say a little more adventurous. A lot of you, in fact, do, because we have so many members, and it's wonderful to see that so many of you are, in fact, great wine adventurers. Our 6 different monthly wine clubs consist of our giving you 2 bottles every month that we've chosen that we think are great for their type and for their price. And the variety is all over the map. You're saying, hey, Wine Steward, show us what else is out there. You're usually gonna not ever have heard of the wines that we're showing you. And that's the fun of it. That's the danger of it for some of you. And that's the joy of it for the rest. So consider joining a wine club, getting 10% off everything you buy here, the food and the wine, continuing to enjoy best pricing on online orders and when you walk in here into the Wine Steward. So just once again, the online discount will happen only for wine club members after this weekend. We thank everybody for having participated so far. In other news, we want to announce that even though other people are way ahead of us at doing this, we were kind of reluctant to do Zoom tastings where perhaps you would come in or we would hand you at the curb 3 or 4 bottles of wine. You'd take them home. We'd arrange a meeting at a certain time. Everybody would get to watch like the likes of me, but perhaps even better, a dignitary, someone who frequently inhabits our our stage up here at the showroom stage of the mezzanine here at the Wine Steward. One of those guys has finally convinced us to get with it, to get with the program, even as others have been doing this for almost 2 months now. We have decided, based on his persuasiveness, to have Tom Kelly, who you would normally have up here we would normally have up here in July, visit via Zoom to tell you about 4 great Italian wines. All right, so a very nice wine rep of ours named Taylor, she will be coming upstairs today to show us 9 different wines from the importer Small Vineyards. Tom Kelly works for Small Vineyards. So after Taylor shows me those 9 and we boil it down to the 4 favorites, maybe a couple of whites, a couple of reds, we're going to announce to you the date and the time and the wines that you can purchase on our website or come in and grab, and you will take those home and we'll all taste them together and hear from the great Tom Kelly in about a week and a half from now as we taste through those wines. Sound like fun? I think it will to a lot of you, especially because so many people have clamored to attend that event. It always has a waiting list every July, and since this is about the time when we would see the invitation for that and we just can't put it on the regular way, how cool that we get Tom Kelly yet another way. And nobody talks about wine like him. He's very convincing, but so are his wines. And all he has to do is say what kind of food to have with it, and you're just like salivating and ready to buy some more. So of course we hope to get reorders of some of these wines if you would like. And in the meantime, have a great time with you. I'll probably play moderator. Tom will be the speaker. I'll field questions and grab your questions and feed them to Tom. And so we can be interactive that way. Sound like fun? Let's do it. That's coming up. Final announcement is the fact that we're very grateful. A lot of gratitude going around these days for the fact that so many of you have clamored to the Vermentino sampler that we announced last week. Vermentino is an Italian white grape, usually grown in Italy. We have a little in California. It grows in the south of France as well, in Sardinia, Corsica. And we feel like that grape in particular, or that varietal, is especially deserving of the widespread attention of our wine steward populace out there, because it's very endearing, it's understandable, it has wonderful variations from place to place, and so 6 different Vermentinos are a shoe-in for quality and flavors that people understand, but also you get the nice sense of place in each and get to compare one to the other. So many of you have enjoyed it. I think we've sold well over 20 of these samplers so far, and we have many, many more. So check it out. It's on the website, 6 different Vermentinos. It's a great excursion. And this is, in fact, fantastic weather for it. As we're hitting heat wave after heat wave, pull out the next Vermentino and see what that one says. It's still available. And per heat waves, it's a nice segue into the fact that we want to say, maybe not so much about merchandise today. I don't have a piece of cheese to show you or a piece of nice charcuterie. Believe me, there are plenty of pieces downstairs. And perhaps we want to get into a little bit of a wine education mode instead. You're going to certainly see our products being shown to you in the meantime, but to address a particular wine appreciation topic for once would be kind of fun, I think, and useful. So we are all wine drinkers. I would imagine anybody watching this drinks wine, could consider himself, herself a wine drinker. Sometimes we are wine appreciators. What's the big difference? Sometimes we give wine the time of day. Other times we just want wine to give us the time of day. We're coming home from a hard day of work and all we want is this damn glass of wine. Shut up, leave me alone with this wine. I'm not talking to anybody for the next hour. All I need is this. And so that's wine drinking, one might say. Wine appreciation means that you're taking it a step further. You are wondering what's best for the wine, and therefore you're rewarded because you gave some attention to the wine. So it's a little give and take because you care enough to treat this the right way so it treats you even better, if that makes any sense. And in one way that we do that is to worry a little bit about the temperature, the serving temperature of the wine. Now, this speaks to a certain paranoia of mine. I spend a lot of time up here behind this bar with vendor after vendor coming upstairs with a bag of wine under their arms, and I get the corkscrew ready and my spit bucket ready and my notebook ready, and we get to work. And yeah, I know it sounds like fun, and frankly it is, but it is actually a lot of work to taste and taste and taste, to smell, to write, to spit. And frankly, on some of the wines, you don't even it's not even worth wasting the ink. That's what Kent Sheldon taught me a long time ago. As he was taking notes, he said, Jim, I'm not going to write anything. It's not worth it. Why am I going to write something about something we are absolutely never going to carry? Don't admire the wine. There's no need for it. Don't waste the ink. But most of the time, some kind of notes are taken, even in really nasty prescription-looking shorthand. And at least I can read it coming back a month later and say, yeah, that wine for the wine club. Yes, that wine for the wine bar, and so on. So that's an attentive, again, that's a certain kind of wine appreciation on your behalf. Well, sometimes the bell rings, the light goes on, the wine is like, whoa, this is the wine we need for this or that, right? Now, what do I want? I want you to have that exact same experience I just had. The fact is, you won't. You can never perfectly have the experience I just had. In fact, I can't. That bell will ring and light go on only so perfectly once. That particular experience can never be matched. It's kind of like going to Europe for the first time and you're bedazzled by all the exotic. And you might go back another couple years later and try to match the experience. You go to the exact same places and maybe they've lost their luster, or you just can't make the same thing happen again, right? And most world travelers know, seasoned travelers know, to never try to replicate an experience. You're never going to do it. You will only cause yourself dismay by doing that. So, but with wine, anticipate the fact that the way I had it is not exactly the way you're going to have it. But there should always be an attempt to give wine the time of day, to give wine the right treatment. And what I'm talking about mainly is temperature today, especially because it's getting hot outside. And many of us like to drink red wines even on a hot day. And we might be pulling them right off of the kitchen counter wine rack, opening them, and putting them to work. All right, so here's this Pinot Noir. It's been sitting out in front of us for the last, 15 minutes? How long have I been jabbering on? And we're going to be checking this wine out and comparing it with the same wine at a different temperature. That's going to happen in a minute. But let's just point out, what are some guidelines for wine temperature? Well, factor in this. What time of the year is it? What time of the day is it? What am I eating? Am I eating? Am I just sipping it? Am I inside? Am I outside? What's my body temperature like? Even if it's I'm in an air-conditioned room, but it's freaking hot outside and I've just come in from out there, I'm still warm. What do I need from wine? Well, of course, the answers are difficult and complex. It's a wine-to-wine thing, and it's a day-to-day thing. It's environmental. It's situational, right? But I think we could say generally that when you have high acid white, bright white that never sees oak barrels, and is meant to be lean and vibrant, you really want to emphasize that, right? You don't want to turn wine whose main message is zing into flat and flabby, do you? So for instance, a great Sauvignon Blanc from, not Blanc, this is not Sauvignon Blanc, this is great Sauvignon Blanc from Round Pond in the Napa Valley. I'm sure you've had their Cabernet, but did you know they make fantastic Sauv Blanc? You can find it on our website. I'm big on this wine. When you have this, you want to serve it quite cold, colder than Chardonnay, let's say. And as far as glass shape, I don't recommend this because this will be too big a stage for the wine. It will flatten it out. So that's the big red glass. Definitely not this. This big bowl will only emphasize alcohol. This, how about a skinny little glass for a skinny little wine? We want to keep this wine little and bright and pristine. We're not trying to make this into Chardonnay. We're trying to enjoy its vibrant qualities. The same could be said for, let's say, dry rosé. And by the way, we've got tons of them down there. We continue to restock. We still have that rosé sampler on the website, so check that out too. But that's another wine. You're probably going to be drinking dry rosé on the hottest days of the year, and you want it to be cold. Well, that's great. Keep it in the skinny little glass to emphasize its brightness, and keep it chilly. That's a wine you want to drink on the cold side. What's another one that we traditionally drink very, very cold? Champagne, of course. Champagne, when it's warm, it's no fun, right? Okay, now we start to hesitate and say, well, little qualifiers once in a while. So champagne, I will always drink nice and cold. I will always serve it in a great glass where I get to smell it, and yet I want this stuff chilly, on ice if possible. But that said, just to find out what this wine really has to say, try warming some up sometime. Let it sit out for an hour. Forget that you have half a glass sitting over there, and while you're drinking the cold stuff, that's true wine enjoyment, but true wine inquiry would be to come to that other glass that's warmed up to room temperature and then smell it. That champagne will tell you a lot. It's not the perfect way to be drinking the stuff, but it's a great way to know everything that's hiding in there. So, little qualifier, right? This all brings us to a wine bar experience, kind of an illegal one we had a couple days ago. And this is only because one of our major investors really needed to have a meeting with us about an event that she would like to be putting on upstairs when things are event worthy again, when times are event worthy, that is. So, knowing that she loved Pinot Noir, I thought I'm going to bring up a beautiful bottle of Pinot Noir. When I had this in an appointment, I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. It was in fact served at a nice temperature, and that's probably what convinced me. But I mean, it was great wine behind all that. This is that wine. It's still gonna sit there. Because what also happened that day, first of all, was our having a conversation about Cabernet Franc. And she declared very boldly that she does not like Cabernet Franc. It's not her grape. And I said, I'll bet I have one that will work for you. I'm just betting, and you can say nay once you've tried it, but I need you to try this wine. So I served this wine straight off the sales floor, and we keep the place pretty cool, air conditioned, brought it upstairs, and I thought, I really need this particular very important customer to have this as wonderfully as I first had it. I need her to have that experience. It didn't work. She wasn't complaining, but I was extremely self-aware of the fact that I was pouring something a little bit too warm. I was smelling it, she was enjoying it, she was either being nice or truly enjoying it, but I knew that this wine could be better. What did I do? I cooled it down. The wine changed. It changed from a gruff, kind of rough, earthy thing with too much alcohol to a maybe 5-8 degree cooler situation where the alcohol was totally like eliminated, that sense of heat was gone, and blue fruit was popping out of the glass. That wine had become beautiful. And everybody, we had 4 people up here, socially distanced, and it was agreed by all that the cooler wine was by far the better wine, and that all of a sudden the experience that I really hoped for, or something very close to it, was happening with the proper treatment, with the proper thought. Now, let's talk about this wine, finally. A little wine ad at long last. We're very grateful to be able to obtain this wine at a very good price. So one of the great Pinot Noir masters out there in Northern California is MacPhail. A lot of you have perhaps never even known the name because in days past and years past, this is a wine that you could simply not obtain unless you went to the winery, did some begging, got on their mailing list, and we're finally given allocations of the stuff. The wine's become a bit more available now, but its target audience is fine restaurants, and so you're not going to see it much in retail. This particular MacPhail, and they have a whole stable of Pinot Noirs, this MacPhail is from Toulouse Vineyard in the Anderson Valley, so that's up where Duckhorn's Golden Eye happens, and Roederer Estate, a great Pinot Noir place that is on the road that you take from Cloverdale going out to the village of Mendocino. You will traverse the beautiful Anderson Valley, Boonville, Philo, and all that. So the vineyard's there, MacPhail itself is in Sonoma. The Toulouse Vineyard Pinot Noir, here we go. This is the Toulouse Vineyard Pinot Noir as I first poured it for our customer. And then I thought, no, this is not what I want to show this Pinot Noir lover. Actually, after all, I wouldn't mind if she ended up buying a bottle, which, that's always in the back of my mind, right? I'm a businessman. So I get this wine cooler really fast. Within 7 minutes, with this cold collar on it, this is one of those doodads we keep in the freezer downstairs, the wine had changed. I'm going to prove it to you. You have to believe me, though. I mean, you're not doing this at home, but maybe you should. All right. Same wine, 2 situations. During my whole talk, the bottle that was at room temperature has been wrapped up, has been chilling a little bit with that wrap. Hasn't even been in the refrigerator. It just got that nifty thing there. So, the room temperature, I smell hot pie on a windowsill. It's not a bad thing, but it does have an alcoholic heat. There is a sense of heat. The smells are fantastic. Like I said, it's like a pie that's still steaming, and the smells of cherry and berries are just like screaming out of there. Beautiful sense of earth, maybe some tea. It's a big wine, you can tell, because of alcohol. Now, alcohol is not a bad thing. It does soothe the soul, I guess you could say. And of course, it gives you body in the wine, in your mouth. When you feel wine that feels rich, we're not talking about flavor, but it's got mouthfeel, richness, like compare water and milk. Milk has more mouthfeel. Higher alcohol wine has more mouthfeel. So alcohol is a good thing. And yet we don't want to anticipate it. We don't want to have it invading our nostrils and getting in the way of the actual fruit. So, solution. Chilled down version of the same. Okay, might have chilled it too far, which is always a question. Like if you serve this wine too cold, then you lose all the nose. And that's true of all wines. In fact, we're going to talk about one wine after this before we call it quits and say, maybe you shouldn't chill it all the way. It's always a question, and you should always wonder. A sense of wonder is that important part of wine appreciation. It is the basis of wine appreciation. That and smelling your wine, of course. But here, as I'm finally warming it up a little bit, the heat, the alcoholic heat is gone. And now it's all fruit. So the quality of earth, which was kind of cool, has dissipated, but you've got twice as much fruit happening now. Now we could talk about cherries and berries and flowers, and they are unimpeded by that kind of distraction of alcohol. It's a great thing to do, especially with Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir, what a pain in the ass grape. It needs so much attention out in the vineyard, in the winery, all the way to once you uncork it and obsess about whether or not you're having it at the right time and with the right food. And point is, you can quickly correct some of those questions with a little bit of chill. One final comment about chill is to apply that idea to a wine like this. So here's a wine called Chablis, made by Brocard. It's got a ladybug on it. Here's another wine called Chablis Vieilles Vignes. That means old vines. And it's got two doggies on the label. Here's, I think, my favorite Chablis label. It says Chablis here, and right after that it says Premier Cru, which means it's supposed to be better Chablis. And most significantly, I think, it has a seashell on it. So this is a trio of wines that all come from a region called Chablis. This is not the Chablis that you might find on the grocery store shelf in 2-gallon volume with a big handle on it. In other words, we in America, our American wine industry, ripped off a lot of fancy European wine names and made us a little bit confused about what they mean. Well, real Chablis comes from a region in France called Chablis. So this is a place, not a grape name, not a type of wine necessarily. This is a region. So you're tasting a place. That's how the French want you to think about it. This Chablis, this Chablis, this Chablis, they all have to be made of 100% what grape? Anybody? Anybody? Chardonnay. And a lot of you are backing away like, oh no, Chardonnay? No, I've graduated from Chardonnay. I like lean and pristine wines. I like bright wines like that Sauv Blanc. Don't worry, we're giving it to you here. That's the wonderful thing about Chablis. Chablis, when it comes from Chablis, France, is growing in soil with a bunch of these in it, fossilized seashells. Most of them are a lot smaller than this. A lot of them look like this guy right here, this nautilus-looking seashell on the label. This is called Kimmeridgian limestone. It's prehistoric seabed, and a lot of people say that beyond tasting just a very bright, lean, minerally effect in the wine, you might even, perhaps it's aromatic notion, you might even sense the sea in it, perhaps a sense of brine. It just figures that this kind of wine also goes amazingly with raw oysters. Getting back to the temperature topic, just one very last time before we close for the video. This wine, as lean and pristine, perhaps you do want to chill it all the way down. Perhaps you do want to have it in the skinny glass. I think this wine is better than that. You perhaps want to bring it up from super cold refrigeration to maybe 10 degrees warmer. Otherwise, it's dead silent. So this, once again, is on you. Thinking about every wine you open when you're in the mood to be an actual wine appreciator. Is this the right temperature? Have a sense of wonder. Should I let it warm up? Should I cool it down? Think about it. How about the glass? Do I want to maintain a message of brightness, leanness, zing, or do I want to make this wine bigger? You can make this wine bigger, and it has a lot to say if you do. It can, in fact, work in this glass. It's really up to you. So this is one of those gray areas that is all subject to your sense of wonder. All we're asking, all we're hoping from our customers, from our wine thinkers and drinkers, regardless of which one you are today, is just give the wine the time of day. Wonder about temperature, especially at this warmer time of the year, you will be rewarded by a greater wine experience. Thanks so much for listening, watching, and we hope to see you this weekend. Keep the Wine Steward afloat. Visit the back door if you'd like. We can do it any way you'd like. We're even working on a delivery system for you too, so we'll be talking about that. Look forward to the Zoom announcement with Tom Kelly. Last weekend for discounts coming up for non-wine club members. And finally, I guess that's about it.
Well, Jim, did you tell them
Oh,
how
wait.
the club members will get their discount online?
Yeah, I did mention
Okay.
that, yep, there's going to be a code. We'll come up with some fun name that we hope you won't share with the non-members. This really is meant to thank you for being members, and also, in fact, to incent non-members to sign on to this wonderful wine adventure called Wine Club. 6 different wine clubs, so lots of options, lots of great exposure to the wines of the world. So do please consider. You can find all the info for that on the website. Once again, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. We will see you soon. Have some good Chablis. Dogs on the label.